What's up, World Renowned family? Today, I'm going to be updating the exclusive buyer broker agreement video that I did, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. And this is coming off of a meeting that I had with one of my agents yesterday. So some things have changed, but we're here in Form Simplicity. Now, I don't care where you find the form, but we're going to be using the exclusive buyer broker agreement. In Form Simplicity for Florida Realtors, you'll see that there are 4 versions. The first one is the exclusive buyer broker agreement, consent to transition to a transaction broker, the EBBA. Now, I will call the exclusive buyer broker agreement the EBBA, so exclusive buyer broker agreement. So you have the EBBA, consent to transition to a transaction broker, EBBA, no brokerage relationship, the single agent, and then a transaction broker. Now, here in the state of Florida, if you don't communicate or have the buyer sign something at first meeting, you are automatically a transaction broker. Now, if you don't understand brokerage relationships, that is another training, another teaching, but I encourage you to either speak to your broker or for you to attend classes to find out what the difference is between a single agent, no brokerage relationship with the customer, or a transaction broker. So everything that we do, everything that I talk about is going to be on the one with the consent to transition to a transaction broker. So this is where we will begin as a single agent and then get the authorization to transition to a transaction broker should these circumstances require it. So we're going to go into this form right here now. People ask, what is the EBBA? Why do we need it? And will buyers sign it? Absolutely. So this is the equivalent of you listing your buyer. So this is like a listing agreement or a marketing agreement that we usually do for sellers. This is what we do on the buyer side. All right. So you would just fill this out. So we'll put Joe. How do we go? Joe Schmo. There we go. And the broker. Understand that the real estate broker, it does say broker, so that would be the broker and the office. So I'll put my info in here, and then we're going to go World Renowned Real Estate. All right, and then the terms. Now, some of the things that I'm going to, let me make sure you guys can see that I'm going to cover here, and I'll explain. I'll go a little more in depth of what I did, what I do, and why I do it. So this agreement shall begin on, we're going to choose today, October 30th. Will terminate at 11:59 on, and then let's see. Now this all depends on, you want to ask those questions about the motivation. How quickly do you need to make a purchasing decision, right? If they're going to say, hey, I need to be in a place in 3 months or 2 months, you just want to give yourself the time, whatever that is, make sure that it's in there. And then this right here, if you've done a great initial consultation, you will know the type of property. I primarily deal in single family. Location, we're going to do all of Broward County. The price range, we're going to be looking at 450,000 to, let's say, realistically, 525. And then this, we want to find out if the buyer has been pre-qualified or pre-approved. And then we will put that information here. Buyer has been pre-approved by, we're going to use Dan Longman at Priority Lending. And then the preferred terms, or for the amount, how much were they approved for? Now, they are going to be approved for, we're going to say 500,000, and we'll do 15% conventional. All right. Now, this would all come from the pre-approval letter that you have when you speak to their lender. Now, on this point, when you receive a pre-approval letter, I always advise that you, as an agent, you pick up the phone, that you call their lender, ask and have a conversation. Ask them, is this just a quick, computer-generated credit only pre-approval, or if they've gone through and verified income, assets, W-9s, all of that information. So that's something that I would advise you to do, but I can't mandate that you do it. Brokers, obligations. It will cover the obligations here, and then now you take a good look at this. We're not going to dive into that because there's nothing for you to change here. Now these obligations will change depending on if you're going to do a single agent versus a transaction broker, and you'll see why that is and what that is. So make sure that you read this section here very closely, and that is going to be section 4 and section 5 for the broker's obligations and then the buyer's obligations, and be able to communicate that to the customer, or actually the client in this case, before they sign. Retainer. Now, in my last video, I do charge a retainer fee, and I put that in all of my EBBAs. There is a caveat to it, and I want you to understand the reason I have a retainer fee. Of course, now some of you may not be comfortable. Some of your brokers may not allow you to charge a retainer fee. That's totally fine, but we'll give you a workaround on how to do that. Now, what is a retainer fee? Retainer fee is upfront commission. It is a retainer for them to work with you, much like attorneys charge retainer fees. I charge a retainer fee, so mine, I'll put $1,500 there. That is for a buyer to get in the car, or for me to show them properties. There's a $1,500 retainer fee, and it will be credited to buyer compensation if it's earned by the broker. And we'll go into that a little bit in the next section. But what my retainer fee is really for me to see how motivated they are. Now, the reason I'm updating this video today is because of the conversation I had with my agent last night. I will every time I do this, I write in and I print out or whatever this $1,500 retainer fee. Neil, why would you do it? Not because I want the retainer fee. I want to see which buyers are motivated to work with me. And then I'll come in just as salespeople do, or an attorney does, and I'll say, I will waive this upfront $1,500 if you put $1,500 in escrow, right, with Ben Finley over at Omega Title. That's the way that I don't want the upfront commission. I don't want the retainer fee. I want you to have some skin in the game. Before we start working together, let me make sure you get $1,500 in escrow, because you're going to have to put something in escrow anyway. So that's why we'll do that. And then I'll just come out, mark this out later, and then I'll put in the special or the additional terms that buyer has agreed to put X amount in escrow within 3 days of us working together. Compensation. So it's very important when you're doing the EBBA, when you're having your initial consultation with your client or customer, that you explain how we get paid. In many states, let's just talk about in Florida, many times the seller is paying the commission. So in essence, the buyer is utilizing your services for free. However, there may be times when we as agents, we get frustrated over the amount that we're compensated. This EBBA protects you if you do it right. So something that I do here, so purchases or exchanges, I always come in and I'm going to put that the broker receives from, okay, it's going to be 3%. Now, I'm just using a percentage here. I'm showing you all an example. This is what I'm putting in here. There are no such thing as industry norms. I'm not telling you what to put. I'm just using my example here. Okay, so it says broker's compensation is earned when, blah, 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 blah. Read all of that. So what this part is talking about is that in exchange, the purchase or an exchange or a trade, we're going to get either a flat fee amount or a percentage, okay, right here. So what I do is I put a percentage, and on some listings, the co-broker or the listing agent might offer 1%, 2%, 2.5%. What I'm telling right here is that if my minimum commission is 3%, so if it's a 2.5% listing offered on the MLS, then the buyer would be responsible for coming with a 0.5%. But that's not the only place I do it. I'm going to skip down, and then we'll come back to it. But I'm going to skip here, and in my special clauses, I have a minimum commission clause that I will insert. So you'll see here that this says section 7. When I come up here to compensation, which is section 7 on the EBBA, and it says 3%, I put this in for my agents. Mine now is, let me see if it's going to allow me to, for the difference. All right. All right. So this is the additional terminology that I would put in. Total broker compensation shall be 3% of the purchase price or $7,500, whichever is greater. Any retainer fee and commission paid by the seller will be credited towards this amount at closing, and buyer shall only be responsible for the difference. So this covers that part earlier. If you want to leave that retainer fee in there, that will be credited if there's a shortage on the listing side where the seller is not paying enough for the compensation, or if you're going to take the retainer out and there's 2.5%, and it doesn't hit 7,500 or 3%, whichever is greater, the buyer is responsible. Now, I can't stress enough, you must make sure you clearly explain this to a buyer before they sign this part. If you're not comfortable and if you can't clearly articulate this, then remove that section. All right. While we're here on the additional terms, I will go ahead and add the language where buyer agrees to deposit So this is where I'm waiving the retainer, but I'm asking them to put escrow within 48 hours of execution of this agreement. All right, so now we're going to jump back up into the section 7 right here. And this is where we talk about, now if there's for a lease, how much do I want for leases? I'm going to ask for 5% of the gross lease amount. That's there. And then an option, I'm going to ask for 7. Now these numbers, if you don't know what these numbers mean, speak to your broker, speak to your trainer, or comment in the comments below, and I'll do a follow-up video for that for you. Protection period. Buyer will pay broker's compensation if within blank days after termination date. For instance, this termination date is January 31st of 2021. If within X number of days, buyer contracts to acquire any property which was called to buyer's attention by the broker. So if they purchase a property, let's say that the property or our agreement expires today, and they go under contract with a property that I introduced to them tomorrow. We're outside of the EBBA time frame, but this is the protection period. So mine is usually 90 days, because anything greater than 90 days, if they purchase a property that I introduced to them, 180 days, am I really tracking and keeping up with who they purchased, what they purchased? Maybe not, right? So that's in there. Early termination. Buyer may terminate this agreement at any time by written notice to broker, but will remain responsible for paying broker's compensation if blah, blah, blah. Read all of that. Dispute resolution, it will be mediated. Okay, broker may assign this agreement to another broker, right? So I can assign this agreement to another broker. No harm, no foul. That gives us an out if we like. Single agent notice. Now this where it goes back to what in Florida, what your requirements are as a single agent. And the main two are going to be full disclosure and then confidentiality, right? Because you'll see here is different. Once you have a consent to transition to a transaction broker, there are 9 requirements here as a single agent. There are 7 as a transaction broker. So just get to know those, study those, and then I believe that it will help you when deciding how to do your business So for instance, I don't care whether you're a transaction broker or a single agent. If I come in and if I have a discussion with a buyer after you or before you, I'm going to give them the pros and cons of what you want to have them work with you as. And then I'll say, well, here's the benefit of working with me because I do this. And it's all about not only what you say, but how you say it. And as I said, the special clauses I put in here, buyer agrees to deposit, escrow money, the compensation, and some of you may charge a processing fee or your office charges a processing fee. It's always best to disclose that right here, right now, where you can put that in this section here. Buyer agrees to pay $295, $395 processing fee to a world-renowned real estate at time of closing. Another section where you might want to put that in would be up here in section 7, where you would put your 3% plus right here. You might put 395 or 295. But I believe that repetition is the safest thing that you can do. We don't charge processing fees. For me, I believe it's just a little tack on. A better return than the processing fee of the 395 you might want to add in here is that a smooth little line that we've done is that buyer agrees to provide one referral prior to closing. And that's just a small thing there that instead of, so I've given them, instead of the 1,500 upfront retainer, I've taken that out, asked them to put it in escrow. Benefit to them because they can get that escrow back, okay? Then I'm saying I'm not going to charge you a processing fee. I'm just going to ask for a referral. Yes, I put it in writing. It works very well for me as the majority of our business is done via referral. And then you would just have that signed by the buyers, if there's more than one buyer there, and then the associate, sales associate, and then I believe that the broker should have it done, signed, or should sign it as well, because this is here on the form that you'll see. So that's going to do it from the 4-page EBBA with the consent to transition to a transaction broker. I hope you find it useful. Let me tell you why we get this signed. As I said, this is a don't cheat on me clause. But what we do is with this, we want to see if the customer, client, prospect, if they are willing to sign an EBBA, then they are more likely to be open to signing contracts or offers when you present them to them. If they won't sign an EBBA, studies and research have shown in the real estate industry, if they won't sign the first piece of paper, then it might be more challenging when we get to the actual contract or when we get to a lease. You can do the same thing here if you're going to be working with tenants because it did have that lease option in there. So this is a good thing for us to say, okay, well, how much do they trust me? How committed are they? Do they want to work with me? And are they willing to sign paperwork? If it takes them 2 or 3 days to get this paperwork back to you, expect to have at least that much time when you're sending offers over or when you're looking at properties and you're saying, okay, well, what do you think about this? Are you ready to submit an offer? If they hesitated when it came time to do the EBBA, then anticipate a little delay when you send the paperwork over and ask them to sign the offer to get it presented. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Go out, make sure, and it happens with practice. Don't let anyone tell you that it doesn't work. Every client that I work with is non-negotiable. You sign the EBBA or we don't work together. That's the way I work. That's the way I operate. And I've never had anyone that I've wanted to work with not sign it, if you get what I'm saying. Because they don't sign it, I don't want to work with it. All right, so go out, utilize this, practice with it, make sure that you know the terminology. If there's any questions you have, drop a comment in the comments below, and I will address and respond to every one of them. Love you guys. Don't be average. Be world renowned. Peace.